The movie opens with our main character Lee. Her hands are tied with a rope, yet she is moving through an office, collecting some important documents and taking them into a room. Before we understand what is happening, the story cuts to 6 months earlier. At that time, Lee was staying in a mental hospital, and today, she was finally being discharged. Suddenly, she remembers that today is also her sister's wedding. Just then, her mother arrives to pick her up, and Lee leaves with her. At the wedding, Lee stands quietly in one corner, away from everyone. She looks disconnected from the celebration. A boy named Peter walks up to her and starts talking. Peter was actually Lee's high school friend, and they are meeting after a long time. After a while, Peter invites her to dance, and Lee goes with him. Meanwhile, Lee notices that her father has been drinking too much, and this makes her very upset. She leaves the wedding and goes to her room. From under her bed, she takes out a box filled with sharp objects. She is about to hurt herself, but suddenly she stops. We then understand why. Lee's parents constantly fight, scream, and insult each other. Because of all this pain, Lee used to hurt herself to escape her emotions. Once, she even cut her wrist by mistake, which is why her parents admitted her to a mental hospital. In the next scene, Lee is trying to learn typing so she can get a job. She goes to many places for interviews, but she keeps getting rejected. One day, she sees an advertisement in the newspaper for a secretary's job. The ad was given by a lawyer named Gray. Lee immediately goes to Gray's office. When she enters, everything is scattered on the floor. A secretary is there, angrily packing her things. Lee tries to talk to her, but the woman ignores her and leaves. Lee then walks into Gray's cabin. At first, Gray barely pays attention to her, which makes Lee feel hurt, and she turns to leave. But Gray suddenly stops her and decides to take her interview. Gray asks Lee about her relationship status, family members' address, and work experience. Lee shows him her typing certificate, along with some of her educational documents. After looking at them, Gray says that she is overqualified for this job and that she might get bored working here. Lee replies honestly that she has no other option right now, and she desperately needs this job. Hearing this, Gray hires her, and Lee feels very relieved and happy. One day, Gray tells Lee that he has thrown away an important file. He thought he would not need it, but now he needs it urgently. He asks Lee to find it. Lee immediately starts searching, while Gray secretly watches her. He actually wants to see how serious she is about her work. Lee finally finds the file in the dustbin. When she brings it back, Gray tells her that he no longer needs it. Since his hand cannot reach, Lee bends down to pick it up. At that moment, Gray keeps staring at her. Suddenly, the phone rings and Lee goes to answer it. Just then, Gray's ex-wife storms into the office, shouting his name in anger. Hearing this, Gray quickly hides inside his cabinet. When Lee comes to call him, Gray whispers to her to tell his ex-wife that he has gone out for some work. Lee tells her the same thing, but Gray's ex-wife does not believe it and decides to wait there for him. Meanwhile, Lee receives a call from her father. She starts talking to him, but because she is not paying attention to the ex-wife, the angry woman ruins Lee's overcoat and storms out. At the same time, Lee's father also hangs up the call because he was kept on hold for too long. All of this makes Lee feel emotionally crushed. She takes a knife from her purse and is about to hurt herself, but Gray sees her doing it. Because of this, Lee changes her expression, controls herself, and quietly goes back to work. In the evening, after finishing her job, Lee goes to a laundromat-cum-restaurant. There she meets Peter, and they start having dinner together. They talk about many things while eating. At the same time, Gray also comes to the same laundromat with his clothes. Gray enters the restaurant just as he notices Lee and Peter kissing. The next day, when Lee arrives at Gray's office, he suddenly becomes very strict and harsh. He scolds her for making typing mistakes, saying he's been noticing it for a long time and can no longer tolerate it. He also starts criticizing her clothes, telling her that she should behave and dress like a modern secretary. In the next scene, Lee goes to Peter's house for dinner. Peter's parents are happily talking about Lee and Peter's future and marriage, which makes Lee uncomfortable. Later, Gray shows Lee a video of her and again angrily scolds her over it. Then he calls her into his office and tells her to close the door. Gray begins to punish and discipline her for her mistakes. At this point, we realize that the rope tied to Lee's hands in the opening scene was also part of one of these punishments given by Gray for her typing errors. Now Gray has started controlling Lee's entire life. What she eats, what she wears, and who she is allowed to meet. Everything is decided by him. Slowly, Lee begins to develop an emotional attachment to Gray. His punishments start to give her a strange sense of comfort and escape. Even when she tries to sleep at night, she keeps dreaming about Gray and his control over her. One day, Lee tries to get closer to Gray, but he is busy with work and does not pay much attention to her. Feeling rejected, Lee leaves angrily. Soon after, Lee finds out that her father has been hospitalized because of heavy drinking. At the same time, Gray also starts ignoring her. Because of all this, Lee becomes deeply depressed and again begins thinking about hurting herself. But in her mind, she keeps remembering the promise she had made to Gray, and she feels like she has no other way out. Because of everything happening inside her, Lee goes to Peter, trying to find closeness and comfort. But what she feels with him is not what she feels with Gray, and this leaves her deeply disappointed. So once again, Lee starts trying to get closer to Gray. This time, Gray finally gives in and calls her into his office. But just then, Peter arrives. He had come to pick Lee up because they were supposed to go out for dinner. Lee tells him she has too much work and cannot come. Hurt and confused, Peter leaves. After that, Lee gives all her attention to Gray. But Gray does not touch her or respond to her in the way she expects. Instead, he keeps an emotional distance, which only increases her frustration and confusion. Now Gray finally realizes that what he's been doing with Lee is wrong. He understands that he had behaved the same way with his previous secretaries too. The very next day, Gray fires Lee. Lee asks him for a reason, but Gray does not give her a clear answer. Broken and in tears, Lee leaves the office. Days pass, but Lee cannot forget Gray. One day, Peter suddenly proposes to her, and without thinking much, Lee says yes. On the day of the wedding, wearing her wedding dress, Lee goes straight to Gray's office. Gray tells her clearly that he does not love her, and that whatever happened between them should be forgotten, but Lee refuses to listen. Gray tells her, place her hands on his desk and wait. Lee obeys and stays there. Night falls, but Gray does not come. In reality, Gray is watching Lee from outside the room. He wants to see how long she is willing to wait for him. Gray then calls his office phone, but Lee refuses to move her hands to answer it. At that moment, Peter arrives, searching for her. He asks Lee why she is here on her wedding day. Lee tells him she cannot marry him. Shocked, Peter asks why she agreed in the first place. Soon, Peter and Lee's family members also arrive and try to take her away, but Lee keeps waiting only for Gray. From the window, Gray watches everything silently. Days pass, and Lee is still there, hands on the desk, waiting for Gray. Soon, this strange story begins to appear in the media. Soon, Lee's strange case spreads through the media. People everywhere begin talking about the woman who waited for days inside a lawyer's office. A few days later, Gray finally comes to Lee. He gently feeds her with his own hands and then takes her to his home, where he cares for her and looks after her personally. Through this, Lee and Gray finally come together emotionally. They begin living as a couple, and soon after, they even get married. Now, both of them appear peaceful and happy with each other. And with this unusual but emotional happy ending, the movie Secretary comes to an end. How did you like the movie?